Okay. So hi everyone, thank you so much for coming and for being able to help us with the virtual escape room activity for the ACR Med Student Symposium. So before we begin, I just want to introduce three of us from the ACR Med Student Subcommittee this year. So I'm Tina, and I'm the co-lead with Ryan, who's also here today, of the ACR Med Student Symposium, and we also have Ashmit, who's the lead for the virtual escape room from the subcommittee. So just to go over sort of what we have planned for the symposium, I guess most of us already know, but just to briefly go over it. So first we'll start off with some speakers that are going to be talking about various radiology specialties and topics, and then we're going to have a case competition where chosen winners or students, they're going to be presenting interesting cases, and then we're going to end with the escape room activity. And so right now I'd like to hand it over to Ashmit if he wants to talk a little bit about that, and then we can go on to the orientation.
Sure. Thanks, Tina. Hey, good evening, everybody. As she said, I am the lead for the escape room for the subcommittee, medical student subcommittee. And it was not just me, it's a big team effort by a lot of the staff we see here today from ACR, as well as Dr. Casey Cable, who initially, I think, came up with this idea. And we just want to kind of present this as a way to introduce people to radiology and get them interested. And I see a lot of familiar faces here, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm sure we'll cover it tonight as we go through. But we just want to go through how the escape room would work, what your role will kind of be if you're monitoring one of the escape rooms, and kind of what the goals are. So with that, I'll turn it over to the ACR staff. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks. Hi, my name is Ted Ruse. I am an ACR staff person and one of the co-creators of our virtual escape room. And it is an online escape room. And if everybody can see my screen okay, it's driven by a program called JotForm, which is an interactive form that also allows us to do kind of branching and things like that. And I'll show that to you as we move through it. And I think we have about 80 to 85 people signed up for the symposium to go through the escape room. So it's really important that in order to have, what we like to do is we like to have about 8 to 10 or even fewer people per escape room. We usually drive this through a Zoom webinar room. And so based on that, we like to have about 2 moderators or helpers per each group. And most of those people will either be ACR staff people or volunteers like yourselves that are either on this call or people from the committee. And what we like to do is one person is what I call the driver, which is what I'm going to be doing here, which is running the form, clicking in the form, inputting some information, and then the second person is kind of the host or hostess who engages the team, helps with clues, helps with if they get stuck on a puzzle, and also keeps an eye on the chat. So why don't I kind of go through, so this would be like if we were starting, we would get everybody together, all together in, everybody's familiar with Zoom by now, obviously. We get everybody together on one big Zoom webinar, and then typically somebody from ACR or the team then breaks them out into rooms. And let's say if we had 80 people, we'd do like 8 rooms, okay? And then in each of those rooms would be 2 of us volunteers. And in each room, we would run a different form. And let me get this started. And each form, pardon me, each form actually, one of the nice things, it kind of has a little bit of a competitive, if you wanted to run this and kind of have a competition, it actually has a countdown. We take the team name, I'll just put in test. Then what we like to do is who's ever driving this or even the host can kind of walk through what is this mystery? What is this escape room? And in this version, this is our level 1 version of the escape room with basic radiology knowledge. And Dr. Picklock, a famous and esteemed radiology researcher, has been missing for 2 days. And then basically what you want to do is read through this description. She's missing in the hospital. There's some different things you can click on and read. And there is also secondarily, as we move through the form, we will be bouncing around to this Google Drive that has clues in the form of documents and images. So let's just get started. And also, please pipe in if you have any questions or if I'm misstating or missing anything, but we'll just kind of go through each of the rooms. So you're looking around Dr. Pickalock's lab. There are no visible clues, but the lab assistant provided some information on her favorite places at the institution. Now, where to begin? So we see 4 rooms, and the cool thing about JotForm actually is that you're not going A, B, C, and D. You could bounce around. We could go to the office, we could go to the library, we could go to the clinic, but we'll just start off at the image reading room. And in each room, there is a puzzle or something you have to solve, but there might be multiple parts to it. So we arrive in the reading room. There's several workstations. There's a box with a 5-digit alphabetic lock on it. And so we have to figure out what's in that lock. And we're going to go to the envelope clues. And also, I don't know if you saw in the Zoom chat, I placed a link to this Google Drive. So feel free, if you have a browser open, to poke around and look around. In addition, what we like the players to do is we want them to feel like they can also open that as well and look. Because a lot of times, it's kind of hard to bounce around, but we can do that. So we're going to go to the clinic. Or no, we're not in the clinic. Oh, I messed the recording up already. We're in the reading room. And we're going to look in the envelope. So for instance, in the envelope, there are these images, and they all have red arrows on them, okay? And those arrows correspond to different bones. And then you've got one bone atlas here and another bone atlas here. And what the team has to do together is figure out, okay, what is that? Does that all mean? And if they get really stuck, they can either ask you for a clue, or you can click on this, and that will tell them the bones. And essentially what the bones are is it's a first letter jumble, and it ends up being Curie. Does anyone know what Curie means? Is Madame Curie. We're going to hit next. Well, let me show you what happens if they put something in wrong. Like, let's say if they guessed something really wrong. Okay, it throws an error, and they can go back. So we know that's not right. Nice work. Okay, now inside that box, we've discovered a black light. And if you've ever played an actual physical escape room, you know there's quite a bit of fun you can have with a black light and unearthing clues. It's kind of difficult to do that here in a virtual environment, but we will see that if you go into the reading room, there are posters. I know this is Michelle's favorite poster here. Hang in there. This is in the reading room wall. Then there is a poster of Madame Curie, I guess. Then there's a Morse Code poster for some odd reason, and a radiology poster. So if I had to guess, and I was in that room, I would figure out something like, and again, you discover that the black light or the code Curie, this could be a hidden clue. So I'm going to shine light on Curie poster. All right, cross your fingers. Woo! Okay, now it has given us some Morse code. And we remember we had a Morse code. And usually again, the part of the fun is me as a moderator has this open, and then you might have the rest of the team is looking at the clues. So hopefully there are people offline solving it, and you can even give them some of those tips, like, you know, make sure you, if you can, have the browser open looking at these things. So we're not going to decipher that. I know what it is. It's imaging. Yay, good job. Okay, so if we were bouncing around to rooms and we had discovered all the various clues, we could guess where Dr. Picklock was. But since that was our first room, we're not ready to guess. So if you're helping a team and they want you to click on yes, we're ready to guess, and they've only done one room, they're not ready to guess. So drive them to the no, we're not ready to guess. And again, imaging, what does that mean? It seems like something that we need to remember. So the imaging is the clue you got when you solved that room, and that's going to be part of the final solution. So part of the job for the moderator and the host is to say, and you can even put this in chat or you can say it out loud, is, boy, maybe that's something we should write down, you know, hint, hint. We can go, I'll go through the rest of the rooms really quickly, but they're all very similar. Here's one. We're in the clinic. The clinic, we look at the test tubes. Within the test tubes, there are pictures, there's letters on them. The letters, once you spell it out, are basement. This is kind of an easy one. And again, this one, actually, there's only one puzzle, and basement, so if you're keeping track at home, imaging and basement. No, we're not ready to find her yet. Oh, and if you're wondering, usually the whole escape room on average takes about 35 to 40 minutes. And if you have a really sharp group, it might take a little less time. And if you find that you're running out of time, or, you know, because I think we only have an hour for our escape room, if you're running out of time, running short on time, feel free to jump in and give them some hints and clues. We're going to just go to the office real fast. The office, oh, there's a math clue. I know those are Joan's favorite. She loves math. So math, gosh, I forgot. Oh, here's another thing, and I will send this out. We have a leader's guide. So in the leader's guide, I have all of the answers to everything. The laptop login is, and that's the office. And when you look at those numbers, it corresponds to the periodic table, and the jumble, when you unjumble all the numbers and map them to the periodic table, it's dynamite. If I can spell that right. Dynamite. Boom. Great. Now you're still in the same room. The next set of clues are, you're now on Dr. Picklock's laptop, and you have to open some of the files on your laptop. And there's a little, obviously, some comedic effect here, family vacation, boring stuff. But what these are YouTube videos, and they're short, very short imaging YouTube videos. And if you'll notice, I'll pause it. As it goes through, how far did you embed these in here? Oh, there you go. So as we go through these, and each of those videos was kind of a separate scan and a separate modality, and they're all kind of interesting and fun. There's a little TO, okay? So on each of those 4 videos, each have a two-letter code. And again, it's just a simple writing it down. Sometimes they need to see the video a couple times. So if you're driving the videos, all you have to do is replay it. Each one of these links to the video, and they don't have to They don't have to say what's in the video or what kind of scan it is. They're just looking for those letters. And it's repository. Oh, this is another one. So we've got imaging, basement, and repository. But we have one more room. We're not quite ready to guess. And we're going to go to the library. We're in the library. Wow, I've got, looks like there's kind of a word search. So let me go to the library and then something here that says P equals 16. Sometimes people forget that, so that's a good thing to remember. So let's go to the library. We are in the library. And the clue was Dr. Pickalock had been working on pioneers in imaging. And so we're supposed to read the pioneers or famous radiologists. And so this is kind of a sneaky way of getting the participants to learn a little bit about some of the pioneers in radiology. Dr. Fleischman, Elizabeth Fleischman, William Röntgen, Alice Ettinger, our Marie Curie, who's super famous, Raymond Damadian. And when we first did this clue, we didn't highlight in yellow, but we thought it might really slow things down if they really had to read it. So really all they have to do is read this part, William Röntgen, and they go in here and find, and let me see if I can, I don't remember this one, so I'm going to go to my cheat sheet. It's a number. 95. Oh, remember, this is the P equals 16. So for each of these letters, so if this one awarded 2 Nobel Prizes for physics and chemistry, that's Marie Curie. She's one of the few people who's ever been awarded 2 different prizes, Nobel Prizes. So you would do Marie Curie, M-A-R-I, so that I then you decode with the P equals 16, and that's a simple alphanumeric code. So again, that's one where hopefully you have some people that maybe are writing stuff down or looking at this stuff. And so I'm going to go to my cheat sheet. And again, we'll share these leader guides with everyone who is going to be a moderator. 95178. 951. This is just riveting, isn't it? I mean, okay, so correct, outstanding. So now we're getting to more math. If you happen to get involved in radiology or radiology physicists, there's actually quite a bit of math. So we're going to go to, there is a library, there's a dose limits poster, and there is a radiation poisoning dose chart. And so what you do is you take, turns out to be a math problem. Dose equivalent limits for organs, all others, times fetal dose limits. So then you look, they're listed on these posters. So again, it helps if you have people that are, have these things open and writing things down. I'm not going to solve it, but I will say if you translated the question versus the charts, you get 2431. 2431. Correct, you're doing great. Now you've opened a lockbox and you see level. And again, this is another thing. So now if you're keeping track, we have imaging, basement, level, and repository. And again, hopefully someone's written this down, but if they're getting stuck on this, part of our jobs as moderators is to kind of move them along and help them out. So we've done all 4 rooms. We're ready to guess where Dr. Pickalock is. Okay, and this is just an extra warning. It's like, are you sure you're ready to go? Yes, we're sure. Okay, does anybody have a guess? It's not, one thing that might throw the people off is it's not a really common area or place in a hospital institution. It's just something that was put together using the 4 words. And it's actually basement level imaging repository. Did I get that right, Michelle? Let me see. I'm going to go to my cheat sheet.
Yep, you did get it right.
Okay.
And actually, when they used to store all the films and stuff like that, they
Okay.
actually did have an image repository, which now everything's digital, so.
And it has to be in the right order. If they put image level repository basement or something like that, or if they misspell it, it'll throw an error. So just have them keep trying. So we're ready to guess. Our timer's been counting down, so it looks like we've really only been going for about 17 minutes, but as I said, it'll probably take them 35 to 40 minutes. And we're going to click next, and oh, I didn't do it. So, well, hey, that was a good way to show. Basement level. Is it imaging? Yeah.
It's imaging, yep.
Okay. I was trying to see if anybody was paying attention. Okay. Boom. Dr. Picklock is working so intently in some imaging exams that at first she does not hear you enter. Eventually she turns around, smiles, and asks, "What's all the fuss?" So there's Dr. Picklock. We found her. We've saved her. And at the very end, we do have some links. You don't have to take them to the links. This is more if we were giving this to people to run on their own. We have some What is Radiologist, a resource for med students, and then the tool that Michelle and her team are working on, we'll probably be adding that there. So that is the end. That is the fini. We can open it up now to questions. Leah and Michelle, were there any questions in the chat? Anybody have any questions?
Nothing in the chat.
I have a quick question. Can just one person lead one group of people? Does there need to be two people?
So the answer is yes, but Ryan, what we found is if I'm kind of focused on, so I was the person that's kind of running through the jot forms and the things, we find it super helpful to then have a partner that can engage and provide clues, and maybe that's the person that has the leader's guide open. So optimally, I think two, but yes, if we're in a pinch, we could do one.
Ryan, to add on to that, yeah, because if there's like 10 people, usually they're shouting out letters and numbers and answers, so the other person can kind of just write it down and remind them if they're like, oh, we had a TO, we had an RO, what else was there, so we can kind of keep track of it, that's all.
What we've also found is there's quite a bit of, so also I'll go back to the beginning. What we want to do is also encourage as many people as we can to be on video. So what we found is that encourages more interaction and team play, but you will find people that are not on video, but they're very engaged on the chat. So Ryan, that second person, it's very helpful. They can kind of live in chat and kind of keep an eye on chat. What you find is, I think the last thing the last event we had, somebody never said anything verbally, but they put their answers in chat. So we just kind of said, okay, oh, Ryan put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in chat. And so that also is very helpful too. So for instance, like this evening, Leah and Michelle were kind of keeping an eye on chat. Does that make sense? Yep, that makes sense. I think in this instance, this 85 people we have registered is one of our largest groups. So we'll just do the best we can to support them, but it would be awesome if we could get, have smaller teams, of maybe 6 to 8 or even 10 at the max, and have the appropriate number of volunteers.
Do you know how many volunteers you have signed up for the 23rd? The virtual?
So what I'll do is since this is recording, we're going to send it out to people who are unable to attend the session. And then Joan, I will follow up with everyone, ACR staff who's volunteered, and also all the med students that volunteered and the committee members, and get people to kind of do a, medium commit to being able to help. And then what we can do, Joan, is we can send a calendar invite so it's locked in on their calendar.
And just to add on, Tina met with some of their rad reserves a few weeks ago. So if they're not here tonight, they already did get this already through
Great.
the other event. Yeah, so hopefully we'll have a few other people show up.
On the day of, for the when we're actually splitting out groups, how do we make sure there are two moderators per group when you click the breakout rooms?
Michelle, do you want to answer that? You did that on our last one.
Sure. So yeah, so with the Zoom, what I'll do is I'll write down all the names of the moderators and I'll assign them to breakout rooms first and then just fill in with the participants. And we could really go up to 10 to 15 per room.
Right.
As well, I think 10 is a great number, but if we have to, we can go higher. It's not like everybody's elbow to elbow in a room,
Right.
It's a Zoom, so.
So one thing we're going to have to remember, the Zoom, the virtual symposium event, the core part of the event is Zoom webinar. Zoom webinar at this point doesn't do the breakout rooms, so it's going to be a different link for the escape room. So that's one thing you two are going to have to remember, you, Ryan, and Tina, is say, at the 3 o'clock or whatever the 4 o'clock break, we're going to give you 5 minutes or whatever, but here's the other link. We need to make sure, I don't know who's going to be managing the chat, if it's Katie or Tao.
So Joan, you're saying that your actual symposium will be a separate webinar from the escape room?
Yes.
Okay, I think we can handle that.
So you're going to have to create the Zoom. We probably could do this offline, but you need to create the Zoom meeting for the escape room and send it out to all the people who said yes, who opted into the escape room. You're going to have to send that out on Saturday, hopefully after the symposium gets started, so there's not a confusion as to what Zoom link
Yes. So
use. One thing that would be helpful for us, though, would be to have that Zoom link so we could put it in our run of show, and then Katie or Chow, who's ever managing the chat, at close to 4 or maybe at the break, remind people you're going to be switching to a different Zoom link for the escape room.
We can do that.
Okay.
Does anybody on the call have any other questions or concerns? What another thing we want to do is we'll probably, when we're breaking up the teams to moderate, we will try to put, for instance, somebody who's already done it with somebody who maybe has not done it before, if that eases your mind a little bit. So for instance, if Joan is moderating, she's already driven the Jot form and is fairly familiar with it. And then whoever her team moderator is, that person can be the chat person and the clues person and the engagement person. So we'll do our best so it's not two brand new people, if that makes everybody feel a little better too.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. What happens if the two moderators kind of get lost and don't know what to do? Is there going to be a backup person to save us?
Yeah. So when we did a presentation, I forget what month it was, all of 2020 kind of melded together, but we did a big CME Live presentation where Michelle and I and a bunch of ACR staff people, we had about 50 people, and we got people to moderate, and then Michelle and I bounced around to help as needed. And what we did is we had kind of a MS Teams chat, or we could even do something on Slack or something where we kind of, somebody could say, Ryan, for instance, hey, we're stuck or we need help. I can't think, Michelle, can you think of anything where so I can think of one way that you could get stuck, Ryan, and this is where you have to be careful, is if you're in the middle of doing something in the Jot form and you've got your tabs open and you X out of the Jot form, that will restart the timer, and it will, you'll have to kind of go back through it. So that's the only thing. Whoever feels like they're the most browser competent should probably be the Jot form driver, because we did have, luckily it wasn't, we haven't got to the point where we've ever had any of these that were actually a competition or anybody was actually really keeping time. So it really didn't matter. Really we're doing this, I believe, for the symposium as a kind of an extracurricular activity to have some fun and show the med students a little bit about radiology. So, even if you do click off a browser tab, it's not the end of the world.
Plus, as you mentioned earlier, we do have that cheat sheet for all the moderators who have all the answers, so it should go pretty smoothly, hopefully.
I think there's a like I need help button or something like that as a feature on Zoom as well.
Oh, is there? Okay.
I think so, yeah, in breakout rooms. So I guess we can just tap on that to call for help.
I do see a question in chat from Levon, who's ACR staff person, who's graciously agreed to help us out. So the documents that we will share with the participants will be the clues. So they will get access to these clues, and that's really optional. We want to encourage them to, if they have the ability to kind of have their Zoom open and also have a browser open, if they want to then at the same time, there's nothing in the clues that they can really cheat, or it's not a big deal that they have access to clues. What we won't give them access to is this leader guide. Additionally, only the moderator will have access to the jot form. So yeah, and in fact, when Joan, what we can do, and Michelle and Leah, when we invite them to the Zoom, we can always put the Google Drive in there ahead of time, or just say, hey, feel free to.
That's a good idea.
Just spun up on a browser to be prepared. All right. Well, thanks everyone.